On our family vacation, my mom blew up on me in the lobby, yelling, "You're ruining this whole trip for your sister, just go home," like I hadn't booked every flight and hotel with my own money. So I grabbed my bag and walked out without another word. 3 hours later, when she tried to check in without me, the manager stared at the screen, went pale, and quietly asked her to step aside so they could discuss the booking situation in private. Imagine pouring your entire savings and soul into planning the perfect luxury vacation for your family. Every detail, every dollar, every minute of planning, all for them. Only to have your own mother look you in the eye and hiss, "Stop ruining this trip. Just leave." And I did. But the shocking part? Just 3 hours later, the very dream trip I'd meticulously crafted for them crumbled spectacularly without me. Hi everyone, I'm Lena, and that's how my supposed dream vacation to Miami turned into the biggest family meltdown of my life. I was 29, standing in our luxurious Miami hotel suite, listening to my mom, Eleanor, and my sister, Chloe, bickering about dinner reservations. I'd spent months planning this trip, saving thousands from my digital marketing job to make everything absolutely perfect. When Eleanor turned to me, her face twisted with the frustration I knew all too well, and snapped those words, "Stop ruining the trip with your sister. Just leave." It hit me like a physical blow. I blinked back tears, thinking of all the money, the time, the love I'd poured into this. But I'll get to what happened next. First, if you've ever felt unappreciated by family, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Our family dynamic has always been complicated. Eleanor, now 58, raised us as a single mom after my dad left when I was 7. She worked 2 jobs, constantly stressed, and because of it, Chloe, 5 years my junior, often got coddled. I, on the other hand, had to grow up fast. That pattern stuck. Chloe remained the family baby, needing protection and special treatment, while I became the responsible one, always expected to handle everything. But despite this imbalance, I always yearned for a close relationship with them. My career took off early. By 29, I was doing well. Eleanor worked as a hospital administrator, perpetually stressed. Chloe, meanwhile, at 24, bounced between retail jobs, still finding herself. Last year, when Eleanor had a minor heart scare, it shook me. The doctor blamed stress, but it made me realize how precious our time together was. That's when I decided, for her upcoming 60th birthday, a week in Miami at a beachfront resort. I wanted to give her something she'd never give herself. The planning was intense. 3 months straight. Nights researching hotels, finding an amazing deal on a luxury suite by booking 6 months out. I used my airline miles to upgrade us all to first class. Eleanor deserved that luxury at least once. I meticulously researched restaurants for Eleanor's dietary restrictions and Chloe's picky eating, color-coded itineraries, backup plans for rain. And, most importantly, I saved nearly $7,000 of my own money to cover the bulk of expenses. Eleanor contributed about $1,500 and Chloe promised to handle some meals, but I knew better than to count on it. The warning signs started almost immediately. Chloe whined about the early morning flight. "Why can't we leave in the afternoon? I hate waking up early." I explained it was the only way to get the upgrades, the only way to stay within budget. Eleanor, of course, sided with her. "Lena, you know your sister isn't a morning person. Couldn't you have found something more reasonable?" I swallowed my frustration. This wasn't about me, I reminded myself. It's about Mom's birthday. The complaints kept coming. Eleanor questioned my hotel choice. Chloe texted daily with suggestions that would completely derail my carefully researched plans. "We should do a party boat instead of the sunset cruise. I found this club. Can we skip dinner?" Each time, I patiently explained, tried to accommodate, lost deposits just to keep the peace. The night before departure, I couldn't sleep. So much of me, financially and emotionally, was invested. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted Eleanor to feel special. I never imagined that 3 days later, I'd be flying home alone, fighting back tears. Our flight landed at 11:30 a.m. on a perfect sunny day. The palm trees swayed. Our taxi pulled up to the hotel. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows with glimpses of turquoise ocean. "This is beautiful," Eleanor said, genuine surprise in her voice. For that brief moment, I felt vindicated. Maybe this would work. Check-in was smooth, thanks to my online registration. Inside our suite, even Chloe seemed impressed. "Which bedroom is mine?" she immediately asked. I'd planned for Eleanor to have the master with the ocean view. "Mom gets the master, of course," I explained. "But I wanted the ocean view." Chloe pouted. Rather than argue, I gave up my room with the partial ocean view and took the smallest room, facing the city. A small sacrifice for peace. Lunch at a waterfront restaurant. It started pleasantly. Eleanor took photos. Then, Chloe started. "This ceviche is too limey. And why is it so hot out here?" I had specifically requested outdoor seating for the view. "We can ask to move inside," I offered, already signaling the waiter. Eleanor shook her head. "No, it's fine. Let's not make a scene. We'll just eat quickly and go." The perfect start I'd envisioned was rushed and tense. Back at the hotel, I suggested the beach. "I'm actually really tired," Eleanor said. "I think I'll nap." "Me too," Chloe chimed in. "Plus, I need to fix my nails." I hid my disappointment. "Okay, dinner at that Cuban place is at 7:30. We should leave by 7. They both nodded vaguely and disappeared. I explored the hotel and beach alone, trying to rekindle my excitement. The next morning, I woke early to reserve a premium cabana by the pool. They're usually claimed by 8 a.m., so I was there at 7. I ordered a fruit platter and coffee for 10 a.m., assuming everyone would be up. When I returned at 9:30, Eleanor and Chloe were in their pajamas, scrolling phones. "Good morning. I got us a great cabana. Breakfast at 10. Eleanor frowned. "Oh, I don't know if I want the beach all day. It's supposed to be hot. Plus, those cabanas are always next to screaming kids," Chloe added. "Actually, I got us one in the adults-only section with misters," I explained. "I thought we could relax until lunch, then do the Art Deco walking tour." Eleanor and Chloe exchanged a look. "I was thinking we might go shopping instead," Chloe said. "I saw there's a mall nearby." My non-refundable tour tickets flashed in my mind. "Haley, it's a vacation," Eleanor interrupted. "We don't need a strict schedule. If Chloe wants to shop, we can detour another day." I swallowed my objection, calculating the $150 I'd lose. Sure, shopping could be fun too. We ended up at the cabana 2 hours late. The breakfast I'd ordered was cold. Neither of them seemed to notice or care about the wasted food and money. That evening, we had reservations at an upscale restaurant I'd booked weeks in advance, with a $50 per person cancellation fee. As we got ready, Chloe announced, "I told my friend Jessica about our trip, and she wants to meet us for drinks tonight. She lives here." "You have a friend in Miami? When did you plan this?" I asked, surprised. "We've been Instagram friends for years," Chloe explained casually. "She can recommend better places than the tourist traps in your itinerary." My careful planning, dismissed as tourist traps. I tried to be accommodating. "Dinner's at 8. Maybe she could join us after." "The reservation is for 3 people, Eleanor pointed out. "We can't just add another person." "Then let's cancel and go where Jessica suggests," Chloe said, as if it were the obvious solution. "There's a cancellation fee," I explained. "And it's a really special restaurant. The chef was on Top Chef." "So, you care more about a reservation than meeting my friend?" Chloe's voice took on that wounded tone I knew so well. Later that night, while I was in my bedroom, I overheard Eleanor and Chloe talking in the living area. "Haley is being so controlling," Chloe was saying. "It's like we're on her business trip with a minute-by-minute agenda." "She means well," Eleanor replied, her tone tired, not defensive. "But yes, it would be nice to just relax." I pressed my pillow against my face, tears welling up. They had no idea how much research, money, and love had gone into that minute-by-minute agenda. All I wanted was to give them a perfect experience. And somehow, that made me the villain. On our second full day, I woke determined to be more flexible. If they wanted relaxed, I'd adapt. I put on my brightest smile and suggested the hotel buffet. No reservations, no constraints. "That sounds nice," Eleanor agreed, clearly relieved. As we filled our plates, Chloe casually dropped a bombshell. By the way, Jessica's joining us at the beach today. I told her about our cabana. I paused, a forkful of pineapple halfway to my mouth. The cabana only seats 4 comfortably, and we have all our things there. So, we can make room, Chloe said, adding sugar to her coffee. Don't be so selfish, Lena. Eleanor jumped in. It'll be fine. It's nice that your sister has a friend here. I bit my tongue. The cabana had cost $200, chosen for our comfort. Adding another person would make it cramped. After breakfast, we headed to the beach. The plan was to relax, then take a chartered boat tour at 2 p.m., dolphin watching, snorkeling, my most expensive booking at $150 per person, non-refundable. What time do we need to be back? Eleanor asked. The boat tour's at 2, so we should leave the beach by 1 to change and get to the marina. Chloe rolled her eyes. That doesn't give us much time. Can't we reschedule? It's non-refundable and booked solid for the rest of the week, I explained patiently. It's supposed to be amazing. The reviews say they almost always see dolphins. Fine, Chloe sighed dramatically. At the beach, Jessica was already waiting near our cabana. Tall, tan, confident. After introductions, she immediately started telling Chloe about a way better beach club. We should go there tomorrow, Chloe said, excited. They have DJs and much better food. I reminded myself to be flexible and smiled. That could be fun. The morning passed pleasantly enough, though Jessica and Chloe dominated the conversation. Eleanor seemed content to sunbathe. At 12:45, I gently reminded everyone we needed to pack up for the boat tour. Already? Chloe whined. We just got comfortable. We've been here for 3 hours, I pointed out. We need to change before the tour. About that, Jessica interjected. There's this amazing restaurant on South Beach. Impossible to get into, but my friend's the hostess. She can get us a table at 2. You guys should totally come instead of the tourist boat thing. My heart sank. Chloe's eyes lit up. That sounds way better than looking at fish, she said, turning to Eleanor. Don't you think? Eleanor looked torn. Well, Lena did already pay for the boat tour. I'm sure they'd refund it if you explained, Jessica said confidently, though she had no basis. They won't, I said firmly. I checked the cancellation policy. 100% non-refundable within 48 hours. So, you're making us all go on this boring tour because you're worried about money? Chloe's tone was accusatory. It's not boring. It has hundreds of 5-star reviews. I defended. And yes, $450 is a lot of money to throw away. The argument continued back in the hotel room. In the end, a compromise, Eleanor and I would go on the boat tour. Chloe would go to lunch with Jessica. Not ideal, but at least the money wouldn't be completely wasted. The boat tour was magical. We saw dolphins, snorkeled among colorful fish. With Chloe's negativity absent, Eleanor actually relaxed and enjoyed herself. This was wonderful, Lena, she admitted as we headed back. I'm glad we didn't cancel. That moment gave me hope. But when we returned to the hotel, Chloe was sprawled on the couch. How was lunch? Eleanor asked. Amazing, Chloe gushed. Jessica knows everyone. We got free champagne and met these models who invited us to a yacht party tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Everglades airboat tour, I reminded her. Another non-refundable booking. Yeah, I'm not doing that, Chloe said dismissively. Jessica says those tours are total tourist traps. The yacht party will be much more fun. I felt a headache forming. Chloe, I understand you want to hang out with your friend, but we came here for a family vacation for Mom's birthday. Mom wants me to have fun, right? Chloe looked to Eleanor. Eleanor sighed. I don't want to come between you two. Can't we find something we'd all enjoy? Before I could respond, my phone dinged. Credit card alert. A charge from the hotel spa for $340. I hadn't visited the spa. Did either of you go to the spa today? I asked, already knowing. Oh yeah, Chloe said casually. Jessica and I got massages after lunch. I put it on your card since you're handling all the vacation expenses anyway. Figured you wouldn't mind. I stared at her, momentarily speechless. You used my credit card without asking? Don't make a big deal about it, Chloe rolled her eyes. You can afford it with your fancy marketing job. Think of it as your contribution to my vacation enjoyment. My contribution? I finally lost my cool. I paid for the flights, the hotel, all the activities. I've been planning this for months. What exactly have you contributed besides complaints? There you go again, making everything about money, Chloe shot back. Not all of us have high-paying jobs, Lena. Some of us are still figuring things out. Girls, please, Eleanor intervened. Let's not fight. Chloe, you should have asked. Lena, I'm sure your sister will pay you back. We both knew she wouldn't. That night, as Eleanor and Chloe got ready for dinner, I stepped onto the balcony alone. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. It should have been beautiful, but I could barely appreciate it through my tears of frustration. I'd saved for a year. Countless hours researching, planning. And somehow, I was the villain. The controlling, money-obsessed sister, ruining everyone's good time. As I wiped away tears, I promised myself I would try harder tomorrow. More flexible, less attached to my plans. I had no idea tomorrow would be the day everything completely fell apart. I woke before sunrise on our third day, determined to turn things around. Yesterday had ended in tense silence. Today would be different. I quietly left the suite and asked the concierge, Marco, to arrange a special birthday breakfast for Eleanor. Private on our balcony. Fresh fruit, pastries, gourmet coffee, champagne for mimosas. I even added a small bouquet of her favorite flowers. When I returned, Eleanor and Chloe were still sleeping. I set up the surprise. When they finally emerged, I led them outside. Happy early birthday breakfast, Mom, I said, hoping to reset the trip's tone. Eleanor seemed genuinely touched. For a brief moment, sipping mimosas, watching the ocean, it felt like the vacation I'd envisioned. Then Chloe's phone chimed. Jessica says the beach club I told you about has a special event today. We should definitely go. She can put us on the VIP list. I had booked a different beach club for today, tranquil, excellent service, specifically because Eleanor wanted a relaxing day. I already made arrangements at Playa Beach Club, I explained. They're holding a cabana for us and I've paid the deposit. But this one, Jessica suggested. It's where all the celebrities go. Chloe insisted. It would be so much cooler. I don't care about celebrities, Eleanor interjected, surprising us both. But I trust Chloe's friend knows the good places. Can we change the reservation, Lena? That familiar sinking feeling. Another lost deposit, another discarded plan. But I'd promised flexibility. I'll call and see, I said, forcing a smile. Of course, the original beach club wouldn't refund my $150 deposit. And Jessica's suggested place? VIP cabanas cost $500 for the day, with a minimum spend of another $300 on food and drinks. When I mentioned this, Chloe waved it away. It's totally worth it. The people watching alone is amazing. I didn't bother pointing out this would blow our entire day's budget. What was the point? I was already calculating which bill I would pay late next month. We took a taxi to the new beach club. Chloe chattering excitedly about celebrities. Eleanor seemed to feed off her enthusiasm. I sat quietly, the knot in my stomach tightening. The entrance was crowded with beautiful people. Jessica was waiting, waved us over, air-kissing Chloe, and introducing herself to Eleanor with exaggerated warmth. I've heard so much about you. Happy birthday, she gushed, though Chloe had only met her 2 days ago. Jessica led us past the line. A stern-looking man with a clipboard nodded, unhooking the velvet rope. Chloe shot me a triumphant look. Inside, sensory overload. Pounding music, tiny swimwear, elaborate cabanas, a pool more for posing than swimming. Exactly the scene I'd tried to avoid for Eleanor. Jessica led us to a prime cabana, directly beside a DJ booth, pumping music so loud I could feel it in my chest. Isn't this amazing? Chloe shouted. Eleanor nodded, but winced at a loud bass drop. She was putting on a brave face, but this wasn't her scene at all. A waiter appeared. Welcome to Azure. Minimum spend for this cabana is $300. Tab. I handed over my credit card, resigned. Can we move further from the speakers? I asked. It's my mom's birthday, we'd like to talk. The waiter looked at me like I'd asked to turn the ocean purple. These are our premium locations. For quieter, you should have booked a regular hotel pool. Jessica laughed. That's just how it is here. It's exclusive for a reason. I tried to make the best of it. Ordered drinks and snacks, conscious of the mounting tab. About an hour in, Jessica spotted someone she knew. Soon, our cabana was filled with her friends, 3 women and 2 men, all as loud and flashy as the club. They ordered drinks without asking, clearly aware someone else, me, was covering the tab. Eleanor looked increasingly uncomfortable. I saw her eyes darting to me with a clear message: help. I leaned over to Chloe. Mom doesn't seem to be enjoying this. Maybe we should move to the hotel pool. She's fine, Chloe dismissed. She needs to loosen up. This isn't her kind of fun, I insisted. Look at her. You're just mad because your boring plan got changed, Chloe snapped. Stop trying to control everything. One of Jessica's male friends overheard. Yeah, stop being such a buzzkill. My face flushed with embarrassment and anger. I stood up abruptly. Mom, do you want to go somewhere quieter? Before Eleanor could answer, Jessica interjected, we're about to order bottle service. You can't leave now. Bottle service? I envisioned the astronomical cost. It's a vacation, Chloe said dismissively. Live a little. That's when I noticed one of Jessica's friends casually going through my beach bag. She pulled out my sunscreen, used it, and tossed it aside without asking. Excuse me, I said, reaching for my bag. Those are my things. Sharing is caring, the woman laughed, digging for something else. I pulled my bag away, accidentally knocking over her drink. The glass shattered. What the hell? She exclaimed. Suddenly, everyone stared. Jessica, her friends, Chloe, Eleanor. All with varying degrees of shock and annoyance. I'm sorry about the glass, but she was going through my personal belongings without permission, I explained, my voice shaking. It's not a big deal, Lena, Chloe hissed. Why are you making a scene? A scene? I repeated incredulously. These strangers are invading our family vacation, going through my things, running up a tab on my credit card, and I'm making a scene? Eleanor stood up mortified. Haley, please. People are staring. I don't care. I finally snapped. I spent months planning this trip. I saved for a year to give you a special birthday. I researched everything to make it perfect. And what thanks do I get? Chloe invites strangers, changes all the plans, uses my credit card without permission, and you take her side every single time. The music seemed to dim as my voice rose. Nearby cabanas, full of beautiful people, were indeed watching our family drama unfold. Eleanor's face flushed dark red. She grabbed my arm and pulled me behind the cabana for a moment of relative privacy. You are embarrassing me, she whispered furiously. This whole trip, you've been rigid and controlling, making Chloe feel bad about wanting to have fun her way. Her way is costing me thousands of dollars I didn't budget for. I protested. And it's not even what you wanted. You hate loud music and crowds. This was supposed to be a relaxing beach vacation for your birthday, not a party scene for Chloe and her Instagram friend. Eleanor's expression hardened in a way I rarely saw. Stop ruining the trip with your sister. Just leave. The words echoed in the sudden silence that seemed to fall around us. I stepped back, feeling as if I'd been slapped. From behind Eleanor, I saw Chloe watching with a mixture of shock and, horribly, satisfaction. Fine, I said quietly, gathering my dignity around me like armor. I'll leave. I turned and walked away. I didn't look back, even when I heard Eleanor call my name uncertainly. I didn't trust myself to speak without breaking down completely. As I passed through the club entrance, the stern bouncer gave me a surprisingly sympathetic look. Perhaps he'd seen this kind of family drama play out before. Outside, I took a deep breath of air that wasn't heavy with perfume and pretension. Then I hailed a taxi and directed it back to our hotel. My mind was already calculating what I needed to do next. The hotel room was quiet and cool when I returned. A stark contrast to the chaotic beach club. I stood in the center of the living area for a moment, looking at our shared space. Chloe's clothes strewn across furniture. Eleanor's reading glasses and novel. My carefully organized travel documents. I moved to my small bedroom and pulled out my suitcase. With methodical precision, I began packing. Each item folded neatly, each toiletry sealed. The physical task helped keep my emotions at bay, though occasionally I had to pause when a wave of hurt threatened to overwhelm me. I wasn't acting out of pure emotion. A calm, rational part of my brain had made this decision. Eleanor had asked me to leave, and I was respecting her wishes. The fact that it also protected what remained of my self-respect was a necessary bonus. As I packed, I made a mental inventory of all the reservations and arrangements for the remainder of their trip. 3 more days of activities, meals, experiences. I couldn't just disappear without ensuring they could still access everything I had paid for. At the hotel desk, I found a notepad. I wrote a detailed note explaining where to find all the reservation confirmations, which were in my email, but also printed in the travel folder. I listed the remaining activities by day, with confirmation numbers and contact information. I included the names of hotel staff I had built relationships with who could help. I read it over, making sure my handwriting was legible despite my shaking hands. No accusations, no emotional language. Just facts. I placed it prominently on the coffee table. Next, I went to the front desk and spoke with Marco, the concierge. "Is everything all right, Miss Walker?" he asked, noting my red-rimmed eyes. "There's been a change of plans," I explained, keeping my voice steady. "I need to return home early, but my mother and sister will be staying. Could you please ensure all the arrangements I've made for them remain accessible?" Marco was the consummate professional. Not prying, but genuinely helpful. He updated the room information so Eleanor could charge expenses without my presence. He confirmed all my prepaid reservations would be honored, and even arranged a birthday amenity to be delivered to Eleanor's room 2 days later, on her actual birthday. "And could you recommend a good flight booking service?" I asked. "I need to arrange a return flight as soon as possible." Marco directed me to the business center, where I booked a flight leaving that evening. It cost far more than I had budgeted for. Another financial hit. But I couldn't stay another night. Back in the room, I checked my bank app and transferred the remaining spending money I had budgeted for the trip to Eleanor's account. She wouldn't be left stranded financially, even though my own account was now dangerously low. I took one last look around the luxury suite that was supposed to have been the setting for our perfect family reunion. From the balcony, I could see the ocean stretching to the horizon, beautiful and indifferent to human dramas. I allowed myself exactly 1 minute to stand there, feeling the breeze and acknowledging what I was losing by leaving. Then I closed the balcony door, picked up my suitcase, and left. In the lobby, the same bellhop who had greeted us so cheerfully helped me get a taxi to the airport. As we pulled away from the hotel, I finally turned my phone back on. I sent a single text to Eleanor. "As requested, I'm leaving. All reservations are still valid. Enjoy the rest of your trip." Then I turned off notifications and stared out the window as Miami's glittering coastline slipped past. The Uber driver, sensing my mood, mercifully didn't attempt conversation. At the airport, everything passed in a blur. Security, an overpriced sandwich I couldn't taste, the waiting area full of families and couples. I wondered how many of them were having the perfect trips I had imagined for us. When I finally boarded the plane and settled into my economy seat, a far cry from the first-class experience I had arranged for our arrival, exhaustion hit me all at once. Physical and emotional. As the plane took off, lifting away from the city where I had left my family and thousands of dollars worth of prepaid experiences, I finally allowed the tears to come. The middle-aged woman in the seat beside me pretended not to notice, offering me a tissue without comment. Small kindnesses from strangers sometimes hurt the most. By the time we reached cruising altitude, I had cried myself into a state of numb emptiness. I declined the flight attendant's offer of a drink and closed my eyes, not expecting sleep, but needing to shut out the world. Somewhere over the darkened landscape of America, it occurred to me that this was the first decision I had made in months that wasn't calculated to please my mother or accommodate my sister. It had been purely for my own well-being. The realization didn't make me feel better exactly, but it felt significant nonetheless. My apartment felt smaller and emptier than I remembered when I unlocked the door just after midnight. Everything was exactly as I had left it 4 days ago. Yet, it felt like returning to a different life entirely. I dropped my suitcase in the entryway and moved through the dark rooms without turning on lights. In my bedroom, I didn't bother unpacking or even changing clothes. I simply fell onto my bed, fully dressed, and finally surrendered to the emotional and physical exhaustion. When I woke the next morning, disoriented and still wearing yesterday's clothes, the reality of what had happened hit me. I was supposed to be in Miami with my family for 3 more days. Instead, I was alone, having walked away from thousands of dollars in non-refundable reservations, and more painfully, from the dream of what that trip was supposed to have been. I checked my phone. It was just after 10 a.m., and I had 17 missed calls, 12 from Eleanor, 5 from Chloe, and numerous text messages. I wasn't ready to read or listen. I silenced my phone again and set it aside. The quiet of my apartment, usually a comfort, now felt oppressive. I turned on music, took a shower, and tried to establish some normalcy, though I had little appetite. As the day progressed, I found myself moving between moments of clarity and confidence in my decision, and waves of doubt and guilt. Had I overreacted? Should I have stayed and tried harder? Was I being petty about money when family was what really mattered? Then I would remember how it felt to hear my mother tell me to leave, to see the look on Chloe's face, and my resolve would strengthen again. I deserved better than to be treated as an ATM and personal travel agent whose feelings and preferences didn't matter. Around 4 p.m., about 24 hours after I had walked away from the beach club, my phone began ringing again. This time it was Brenda, my best friend. I hesitated, then answered. "Hey," I said, my voice rough from disuse. "Lena, are you okay? Aren't you supposed to be in Miami?" Brenda sounded concerned. "I hadn't told anyone about leaving early." "How did you know something was wrong?" "Your mom called me," Brenda explained. "She said she's been trying to reach you since yesterday and was worried." The fact that Eleanor had tracked down my friend's number instead of respecting my obvious need for space irritated me, but I tried to keep it from my voice. "I'm fine, Brenda. Just needed some time alone." "What happened? Do you want to talk about it?" I surprised myself by telling her everything. The months of planning, the immediate tension, Chloe's friend Jessica, the constant changes, and finally, the awful scene at the beach club. "So, I left," I concluded. "Mom told me to leave, and I did." There was a long silence. Then, Brenda said simply, "I'm coming over with wine." An hour later, Brenda arrived with not just wine, but takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant and a pint of chocolate ice cream. We sat on my living room floor, eating pad Thai straight from the containers, while I showed her the increasingly frantic texts from Eleanor and Chloe. The first messages from Eleanor, sent about 3 hours after I left, were angry. "I can't believe you would be so selfish and dramatic. You've ruined this trip with your tantrum." Then they had shifted to confusion. "Where are you? Are you coming back?" By late evening, they had turned to concern. "Lena, please answer. We're worried about you. At least let us know you're safe." Chloe's messages followed a similar pattern, though with less concern and more blame. "Way to make Mom's birthday trip all about you" was followed by "Mom is really upset now. I hope you're happy." "You know what I noticed?" Brenda said, refilling our wine glasses. "Not one single apology in all those messages. Not one acknowledgement that they hurt you or appreciation for all you did to plan this trip." I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to validate my feelings until that moment. The knot that had been sitting in my chest since Miami began to loosen. "I keep thinking I overreacted," I admitted. "Maybe I should have been more flexible." Brenda shook her head firmly. "Lena, you spent months planning a beautiful trip. You paid for most of it. You tried to accommodate their changes at every turn, losing deposits, watching your careful plans get thrown aside. Then your sister used your credit card without permission. And when you finally expressed your hurt feelings, your mom told you to leave. You didn't overreact. If anything, you underreacted until that final moment." We stayed up late talking. Brenda's unwavering support helped me process the swirl of emotions. When she left around midnight, I felt stronger than I had since the whole debacle began. The next morning, I woke to a notification that Eleanor had posted on Facebook. Curious despite myself, I logged in to see several photos from the trip, with the caption, "Wonderful Miami vacation for my birthday with Chloe. Missing Lena, who had to leave early for work. Wish you were still here with us, honey." The complete fabrication about why I had left caught me off guard. The photos showed Eleanor and Chloe smiling at restaurants I had researched and booked, enjoying experiences I had arranged and paid for. There was no mention of our fight or the real reason for my absence. Just as I was processing this, my phone chimed with a call from Brenda, Eleanor's best friend since college. "Lena, it's Brenda. I just wanted to check if you're okay." I braced myself for more guilt or manipulation. "I'm fine, Brenda. Just needed some space." "I figured as much," Brenda said, surprising me. "Look, I've known your mother for 30 years, and I love her dearly. But I also know how she can be with you and your sister. Eleanor called me in a panic, saying you'd stormed off, but I had a feeling there was more to the story." Brenda's unexpected understanding prompted me to give her the abbreviated version of events. She listened without interruption, then sighed heavily. "That sounds about right," she said. "Your mom called me last night practically in tears because she and Chloe couldn't figure out how to use the dinner reservations you'd made. Apparently, the restaurant couldn't find the booking at first because it was under your name. Then this morning, she called again because they couldn't find the confirmation for some boat tour." I felt a flicker of vindication. I left detailed instructions and all the confirmation numbers. "I'm sure you did," Brenda assured me. "But you know your mom and technology, and Chloe has never been one to handle details. They're completely lost without you, which is probably why your mom is trying so hard to reach you." The image of my mother and sister floundering through the carefully arranged experiences made me feel both satisfied and sad. Part of me wanted them to struggle, to realize how much work I had put in. Another part felt guilty for abandoning them, even though I'd been told to leave. "They'll figure it out," I said, more to convince myself than Brenda. "Maybe," Brenda said doubtfully. "But that's not really why I called. I wanted to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Your mom and Chloe can be a lot to handle, and you've always been the one who accommodates everyone else." Her understanding brought fresh tears to my eyes. "I'm trying to." "Good. And Lena, whatever happens when they get back, remember that you deserve respect and appreciation, especially from family." After Brenda's call, I decided to check social media again. Chloe had posted several stories on Instagram. Poolside selfies, drinks with Jessica, a video of Eleanor awkwardly dancing at what looked like a restaurant. They appeared to be enjoying themselves without me, which hurt despite being exactly what I expected. But then I noticed something in the background of one of Chloe's photos. Eleanor was sitting at a beach bar, staring off into the distance with an expression of such profound sadness that it stopped me cold. It wasn't the face of someone having a wonderful time. That evening, 5 days after I had left Miami, I was making dinner when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. For a moment, I considered not answering, but curiosity won out. I opened the door to find Eleanor and Chloe standing there, looking travel-worn and uncertain. "You're supposed to be in Miami for 2 more days," I said, too surprised to say anything else. "We came back early," Eleanor said simply. "Can we come in, please?" I stepped aside, my mind racing, my heart guarding itself. The 3 of us stood awkwardly in my living room, the silence heavy with all the things we needed to say to each other. It was Eleanor who finally spoke first. "We need to talk, Lena. All of us. About what happened in Miami, and about a lot of other things, too." The tension was so thick it felt hard to breathe. None of us seemed to know how to begin. "Why did you come back early?" I finally asked, breaking the silence. Eleanor and Chloe exchanged a look. "The trip fell apart after you left," Eleanor admitted. "Completely," Chloe added, surprising me with her candor. "We missed the sunset cruise because we couldn't find the meeting point. Then we got lost trying to find the restaurant you booked for dinner. The confirmation emails and instructions I left weren't helpful." I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. "They were," Eleanor said quietly. "But I realized that we'd been relying on you for everything. When you weren't there, it all felt overwhelming. I waited, not ready to make this easier for them. The day after you left, we tried to go to that Everglades tour you had booked," Chloe continued. "We made it to the meeting point this time, but they said the reservation was specifically for 3 people, and they couldn't adjust it last minute to just 2. We lost that money, too. We spent the rest of that day just sitting at the hotel pool," Eleanor added. "That's when I started to really think about everything that had happened. about how much work you had put into planning this trip and how quickly we dismissed it all. And about how awful we were to you, Chloe said, her voice small. I looked at her, genuinely surprised. Chloe met my gaze directly for the first time since they'd arrived. I was jealous, she admitted. You always have everything so together. Your career, your apartment, your plans. I invited Jessica to the trip because I wanted to seem cool and connected, too. I didn't think about how it would affect the vacation you planned. And I enabled her, Eleanor added. I've always worried so much about Chloe feeling left out or less successful that I've overlooked how unfair that is to you. I felt tears threatening, but held them back. You told me to leave, I said to Eleanor. The hurt's still raw. After everything I did to make that trip special for you, you told me to leave. Eleanor's face crumpled. I know. I was embarrassed about making a scene, and I lashed out at the wrong person. Instead of standing up for you, I took the easy route of siding with Chloe, like I always do. I'm so sorry, Lena. So deeply sorry. The apology I had needed finally came. And with it, the tears I'd been holding back. Do you know how much that hurt? To be dismissed like that after all the time and money and love I put into that trip. We don't deserve your forgiveness, Eleanor said, her own eyes filling with tears. But we're here to ask for it anyway. Chloe nodded, looking more humble than I'd ever seen her. And to tell you that we're going to try to do better, starting with paying you back for the trip. I don't care about the money, I said automatically, though part of me definitely did. We know, Eleanor said. But it's about respect and accountability. We're going to pay you back, and we're going to work on the deeper issues, too. We talked for hours that night, peeling back layers of family dynamics that had been forming since childhood. Eleanor admitted she had always expected more from me because I seemed more capable, while protecting Chloe from consequences because she seemed more fragile. Chloe acknowledged she had exploited this dynamic, playing the baby of the family, when it suited her. I shared how this had made me feel unappreciated, taken for granted, and often lonely in my role as the responsible one. It wasn't an easy conversation. There were more tears, some raised voices, and moments when old defensive patterns threatened to derail us. But something had fundamentally changed. For the first time, we were actually listening to each other. 2 weeks later, the three of us had our first session with a family therapist. It was Eleanor's idea, surprising both Chloe and me. We need help to break these patterns, she had said. I don't want to lose either of my daughters because I couldn't figure out how to be fair to both of you. The therapy wasn't easy. It brought up painful truths and required all of us to examine behaviors we'd rather have left unquestioned. But it was also healing in ways I hadn't expected. Eleanor started treating me and Chloe as equals, both in her expectations and her affection. Chloe began taking more responsibility for her choices and their consequences. And I learned that I could state my needs and boundaries without feeling guilty. 6 months after the Miami disaster, Eleanor suggested we try another family trip. Something small and simple this time. We decided on a weekend at a lakeside cabin, just a few hours' drive away. The planning was collaborative, with clear agreements about costs and responsibilities. Chloe actually handled the food planning and shopping, taking the task seriously in a way she never had before. That weekend wasn't perfect. Old habits occasionally surfaced. But now we had tools to recognize and address them. We had one minor argument about activity plans. But instead of it escalating into a major conflict, we were able to talk through it respectfully. On our last evening, sitting on the cabin's porch, watching the sunset over the lake, Eleanor raised her glass in a toast. To Lena, she said, her voice warm with genuine appreciation, who taught us that sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. Thank you for giving us another chance to be the family you deserve. Chloe joined the toast, adding, and to not taking each other for granted anymore. As we clinked glasses, I felt something settle within me. A sense of being truly seen and valued by my family, perhaps for the first time. The Miami trip had been a painful breaking point, but it had led to necessary growth for all of us. I've learned that sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people we love most. That real love includes respect and reciprocity, not just affection and shared history. And that walking away, when done not as manipulation but as self-preservation, can sometimes be the catalyst for positive change. Your worth isn't measured by how much you can endure, but by how true you stay to yourself, even in difficult moments. If this story resonated with you, know that change is possible. But it requires honesty, effort, and sometimes the courage to say enough when you're being treated unfairly. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. But the most beautiful thing is finding your way back to each other with new understanding and respect.